Hello and welcome to the Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 233 for February 27, 2026. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantinap, and this is an Open Lines Friday. This is an event that we do Fridays, every Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and it's an opportunity to get together and share techniques and challenges and experiences while working with Plantinap. It's open to all levels, all skill levels welcome. From beginner to expert, we're happy to have you with us. All of these webinars are recorded and published on our YouTube channel. You can get to them and search through them at youtube.com/plantanap. Um, so I encourage you to subscribe for that. Our normal agenda is that we stop and say hello because we're a friendly group and then go around the campfire. We'll do first call and anything that gets submitted in advance. And then look at some of the other things like contributions to the Campfire website and our community website. And we get to other areas depending. And then after an hour or so, we go into our Afterglow segment. And in that, we will in our Afterglow segment, we'll stop and turn off the recording and just enjoy each other for a few more minutes. So we do encourage you to jump in, show and tell, chat with us. You can raise your hand or unmute yourself. This is a very interactive setting. You can submit questions and topics in advance. You do that by sending an email to support@plantinap.com. I'll take a look at anything that you send over, maybe do a little bit of research, but regardless, we'll put it on the agenda and we'll discuss it on Friday. With that, we normally stop here and say hello, but today, for the first time in the history, 233 episodes in, we ah, we have um, we have arrived at this segment and nobody's here except just as I said that, we had one person show up. So hello, Mark and Patrick and Matthew. Now it's a full house.
Hail, hail.
Hi.
You guys just
Good
get
morning.
tired of me. Good morning. You guys just get tired of me saying the same thing over and over again. And so figure if you show up 5 minutes late, you'll get to skip all that.
Darn, you figured us out, Dale.
All right. We're already at first call. So if you showed up to talk about something, now's the time.
I showed up to talk about Matthew, but he showed up, so I think we better postpone.
Fair enough.
That's all right. I forget everything anyway.
Right.
I have a question, and this is somewhat directed, well, at you and Patrick, Dale. A couple of episodes ago, you were busy doing something, testing something out, and Patrick said, "Don't forget to clear cache." Um, what are the circumstances under which that's a requirement? Obviously, sometimes it's just a plain good idea, but are there specific circumstances when that's a requirement?
I think I might have been just suggesting it as a possibility for what Dale was experiencing at that time. Maybe I don't think I was saying it's what he should do. I think I was just saying maybe try clear cache because that's just one of those things.
Yeah, on your checklist of
There,
things to
Yeah.
do when it's not working right. Yeah.
When in
so
doubt, clear cache.
Mm-hmm.
for anyone following along afterwards, I'll just point out we're talking about on the Persona bar servers. There's restart application and clear cache. So there's a few instances that I know come are involved, and then um, I would go along with the vote of yeah, if you don't know what else is going on, it doesn't hurt to clear cache. So one of the ones, if you change anything, if you run any SQL to change um, DNN, DNN SQL is heavily cached. And so, for example, if you I don't know, change the role of a user or yesterday, and there's a contribution actually. I did this yesterday. There's a contribution on Campfire to reorder the menu, and let me see if I can find that one. Sort one menu branch. So this thing here, it's a SQL that makes changes to the tabs table in DNN. After you run this, I mean, the purpose of this is that the whatever branch you pointed at will now show up alphabetically. And so, for example, we've got this that's all non-alphabetical. If I were to run this against that menu branch, it would stay in its unsorted state until you did a clear cache. So anything that might be cached, you'll and now I'm soliciting opinions, but my experience is that there's no penalty for this, or no practical penalty, meaning things won't break when you clear cache. Rather, because cache is cleared, you might suffer a performance hit as people do things, and it now forces a reread of the source information, but no negative. Anybody have a negative associated with that?
Oh,
That's the only thing I was going to say, is that if you have a really busy site, you might want to consider doing it later in the day or something like that.
And then I'm not entirely, this is one I don't know about. I think that restart application will also accomplish a clear cache, but I do both. It's kind of part of a magic formula. Does anybody know that?
I'm pretty sure it does, but yeah, I hear you. It doesn't. I mean, if you're going to restart the application, it doesn't hurt to clear the cache first, because why not, right?
Yeah. Clear cache is very quick.
Mhm.
Restart application is longer, and in the same way, I mean, it's a much bigger performance hit, but in my experience, people using the site still can continue to use the site after they wait through the restart.
Yeah.
Doesn't the restart application restart the app pool?
It does.
Yeah, okay. So that would, by definition, then clear cache.
I would think so. It doesn't. It's not the same thing though, and I don't know if it makes a difference. No, but it's not the same thing as going into IIS and restarting your app pool, though. It's more like a recompile, because I believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what it does is it actually just changes the modification date of your web.config, so it forces a recompile of the site.
Correct. I can
Yeah.
confirm that. All it does
Yeah.
is it touches the web.config. If you make
Mhm.
any changes to the web config, it forces the website to recompile.
Yep.
Okay, so then it doesn't restart IIS, is what we're saying.
I agree. That's my understanding as well.
Okay.
It's an I think it's an automatic IIS behavior. If it
Mhm.
sees that the web config of any website is modified for any reason, it will immediately terminate and restart the application pool so that it reloads the entire website.
Okay. So another question, seeing as everybody doesn't have any topics, how did you make out, Patrick, with the modified 404 page? Did that continue to show you good results?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's changed everything in our logs.
Really?
Yeah, in 1 week I went from having a 44 megabyte error log in 1 day to having a 5 megabyte error log in 1 day.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
And I would suspect that performance-wise, I mean, I don't know if you measured it, but I would expect it would have lowered the burden on whatever server, because it's not throwing all through. It's not.
Yeah.
not logging them. It's able to bounce them very efficiently.
Yeah.
People
are good to know. Thank you.
So just a little bit more on that cache. I just asked Dale's assistant for a comment on that, and it said that it does not, if you clear cache using that button, it does do what you think it's doing, except that it's not going to clear the browser cache. So the user's browser cache is unaffected.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's something that definitely I understood. I don't know if other people had doubts about that, but the only way a cache can be cleared on the user side is to is for them to do it.
True. And so this contribution that I brought up here demonstrates caching and it would be impacted by clear cache as well. So and of course it's doesn't look like it's working right now. So might be a 120. Oh, yeah, 127 and lower. There's another, I think, yeah. So this one no longer applies. It's a little bit different in 128, and I don't know that I did a 128 version of this. But so the DNN caching, another reason to clear cache, to answer your Matt's question, would be, let me find it here in configuration. Anything that we provide the checkbox for, like a token or an API where you set up a caching. If you clear cache, that would invalidate those tokens and force them to rebuild. So if you did of course I don't have nowhere here. Let's do it on, let's go ahead and log in here. So for a performance standpoint, let's see, we've got a test token here, tests area, doesn't matter. Pick one of these, look at the definition. So there are these cache settings that indicate whether or not it's cached. A 0 means not. And so if you cache something for 60 seconds, for example, this creates a cache item. And so the token, rather than recomputing, will pull from cache. If you clear cache, this token would no longer have cache, and so it would do the work to create it. If the work takes a long time or has an impact somewhere else, that would be an impact. Same with APIs. So that may be a even more compelling reason to understand. Typically, these that wouldn't have an impact. It's just a performance impact, right? Typically. All right. Something else. I'm going to jump ahead and ask, I know some of you attended, I think some of you attended the Low-Code Cafe and saw us develop a form in Forms 2.0. Any feedback or questions, or anybody who didn't attend and has questions or comments?
I was there, Dale, and I was excited to see that. So I was glad that you did that particular topic. And it was good to see the things that you showed. You chose some good topics to cover. As you know, I especially like the containers and the way you could nest them. I like other things too, but I would call that out.
I was thinking of you as Mark, as this the feature of being able to point at a element within the form and have it show its properties. It becomes a more visual experience than scrolling a long list of fields and opening them up. And I know you deal with particularly longer form.
I have commented on that before, so that's nice of you to associate that with me. You know, I even bought a mouse with a scroll wheel that doesn't have any resistance. It just does a free spin so that I could get to the bottom of a large form quicker. Yeah. Just for that reason.
Those mouse calluses will just get you, you know.
Yeah, I know it's petty, but it's not though, because it adds time and effort in the development process. So I appreciate the change in design. I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to continue on the theme of mouse. My solution instead of a mouse wheel, free spinning mouse wheel, is I have a mouse that has extra buttons, which I've associated one of the buttons with page down, so I can just lean my thumb against that and get to the bottom, which is where everything that you want is, all the buttons and all.
It always is.
Cool.
That's a good solution.
If you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, I know a lot of people don't know this, but most scroll wheels you can push down, and it's a button in and of itself.
Yeah.
And you can macro that to something.
I think by default on mine it opens a link in a new tab. That's its function, and I use that hourly.
I don't know if I set mine to do this, but what mine does, and I find it really useful for the exact situation we're talking about, is that I don't know what it's called, but it opens up the little dot with an arrow so that you can then use your you can scroll with by moving. I have a trackball, so I was going to say roll my trackball, but you know, moving your mouse, it allows you to start scrolling by moving your mouse, and it's very fast. It's a fast scroll.
I think it does both of those things. I've used it for what you're talking about, Patrick. Scrolling very long pages, you can click and it activates that function, and then although I'm not seeing it here now, and then
you need a tall screen.
Yeah, Patrick, it's the same with mine. I think that's default behavior.
Okay, yep.
But good point that you can macro that.
I also use the slant feature of the scroll wheel. Like, I kind of push it to the side and it'll go left and right horizontally. I like that.
I don't have that. All right. Mouse envy.
So Dale, back to your form 2.0. When you're in design mode of the form and you've got your tools on the left, you've got your, what did you call that? Did you call it the canvas on the right?
Called it a canvas.
Okay. Just, observation, but that form that's in your canvas, could that be full width?
Could it be? There is not a setting that allows it to be full width. So these
those ellipses right there will like close it.
Oh,
You're dragging it, but can you just close it with those?
I don't know about everyone else, but Matt, you're really choppy for me.
Garbled up.
Turn that video off. We don't need to see you anyway.
Is that better?
It is.
Why? Because my video's not there? Thank you. Feedback.
It's not working again.
It worked for all of about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So Dale, I didn't actually mean the panel being full width. I meant the example of the form
Exactly.
because,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's kind of an interesting design. So going, this is as far left as I can drag this clicker, and it leaves a lot of extra space. I agree it would be nice if it used all that space, so the white would extend to here and here.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that the impact of expanding this is it doesn't reduce the size of the canvas in any way. So it's almost we don't gain anything by collapsing this, right?
Ah, okay.
I mean, this is the default size, minimized here on the left, and I'm just from a functionality standpoint, it doesn't seem like. I mean, it doesn't add anything over here because this doesn't expand, and it in fact reduces the width of things here on the left. So it feels like this could be improved.
Yeah. That would be good.
Yeah. It looks nice. I
Yeah,
like it.
using the full space is a really good point, Mark. That would be nice to be able to have that.
You know, in this example that you did, Dale, this form example, it has 3 major columns, and some of the contents need to be really narrow in order, well, to appear in the position that they're in. Like name and address, it would be helpful if they were wider, especially if we were deciding to use a full screen or a full width row
So
in our page. Go ahead.
Container.
this
Yeah.
looks very much like I'm going to guess it's 50% that they're, and we could probably look at it, but it looks like their canvas is 50% of the original, and in the original looks, I mean, it's very usable. Right? The canvas is, I mean, it's a representation, but not not as good as the full width one. So I think we're all saying the same thing. Using up these margins would give a better look of your canvas.
I think this may be a question that was asked and answered, and I missed it because of a colleague distraction. But is there plans for the containers to have additional functionality besides just layout, like being able to title the containers so that you have a section in your form, and maybe collapsibility and that sort of thing? Like a title that actually appears on the live form. Is there any plans to do stuff like that?
That I know of currently, no.
Okay. And I know that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, to answer the open-ended question, we are going to we're from a CSS perspective, we're going to let you provide a class for the container, and also generate a class automatically based on the name. So we'll generate an auto class. The plan is we'll generate something like container class container 3, plus you could add one, and so that would give you some styling abilities. To your point, we're kind of inconsistent. Well, containers don't show the label, and so we need to decide whether this hover needs to, what we're explaining here needs to be fixed or removed, and to be able to display it. And then, for example, repeater is its own kind of a container, and we see that the label does show on a repeater. So it sounds like we could provide the best of all worlds if we had the label of the container show, and then you could remove it.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. And I like the fact that you can be able to style the container. That's good. I think that one other thing that could really be useful is to make containers collapsible into
I would like on that. I agree, and we see this with like. Let me see if I can find the. So this can't. We're seeing collapsibility on individual family members, which is cool. So repeater kind of shows that that's possible. I would agree that allowing a section to be have a collapsible feature, and I would like to see that perhaps as part of the bindings, so that you could add some logic that would make it expand or collapse.
Yeah, that would be cool. And of course, make it so it's not it's an optional feature, which maybe the binding would do that, I guess. But
so by default, it would be expanded and
right, yeah, and then collapsing would show the container title just in a like a just like an accordion would do, like that, yep.
And if there was no title, then you would just have an arrow.
Yeah.
This feels to me like we should have a expand all, collapse all functionality.
There you go.
Yeah, it does.
In the repeater. And yeah, I see we have this delete. I brought this up. I'm sure we're going to provide some functionality here, because this is nobody's going to want us to know I'm having second thoughts as a selection. So we're going to have to provide a way to do this, but which we haven't yet. But yeah, being able to delete and add. Anyway, just in working with this, I thought that the way that they made this work with the repeater being a list all by itself automatically, so ready to use in a button. So ready to go. Family repeater, and then just iterate the list. I thought that they did I think that's a very good low code pattern.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Yep.
And ideally being able to throw a list at this repeater during initialization would make filling a repeater very easy. Create list from SQL, and then have the output point to the repeater, and one step you've pretty well inflated the whole thing. But the creation side of it, I'm sure it's going to be that easy, but it's not working yet.
So Dale, another thing I noticed is the drag and drop procedure for adding a field to the form. It seems very nice to just drag something over to the form. I am wondering though if there is a click way to add a field to the form.
Click, is that what you said? Click way?
Yeah, a click, because I'm just picturing the occasions that we would try to be using a tablet to do some of this work, and how easy is it going to be to accomplish it under that scenario?
Yeah. So if it were possible, where would you add it to? I mean, like the last focused container.
Good question, because there's several different areas that you'd want to put it. If you put it in the last one that you had touched, that could be the right one, or it could be not be the right one you wanted it to go to. You'd have to have some way of moving it around, which didn't involve another drag. But is there in the settings panel on the left, can you change which parent a control is in?
No, right now there is only click and drag.
Well, you might say, Mark, you shouldn't be using a tablet to do this kind of stuff. And I would say, I agree. Except that there's always an exception.
I wouldn't. That's not what I would say. What I would say is, in an ideal world, you should be able to design on whatever you're working on. But we do our default is a full-fledged desktop browser. So, like I say, in a perfect world, you should be able to call it up on your phone and make changes.
There's been times where I felt like I really did need to do that. I had to do it for some business reason. I'm like, oh, I gotta get this done. All I have is my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess at this point in the development cycle, it seems like now would be the time to think of that stuff instead of later.
So I think Patrick asked the question about responsiveness, and it's not responsive yet. So that's
but
I'm wondering where that comes into is. And for what it's worth, right now, one of my tasks is Forms 2.0 last mile is what we're calling it, but trying to there's many details. It's a very big project, and so trying to get the things that we are supporting working and functional, at least in a minimally usable way, even if we don't support everything that Action Form does now. So there's just for what it's worth, I'm helping to try and drag it across the finish line, at least through definitions. But I'm encouraged. I see it. It's nice to see it working. I mentioned during the presentation, there's a little bit of mind stretching going on in how to do containers and get them to obey your will. But it opens up things that you couldn't otherwise do. I hope that came across in the demo, the part where, this row is the email address row is tucked up underneath and not pushed below description, for example, would be something we couldn't have otherwise done. So
that came across, and it's a very welcome feature.
As we look at this, we kicked around in our product meeting yesterday the idea of styling these. You'll notice that all the normal CSS things that you're used to seeing down here at the bottom that are not here. So the big scope plan is that we are. Let's say the state of the plan at the moment is, and I think it's the right one, is that the form will have a CSS to allow you to add a class. It will automatically generate a class for the form based on the form name, but you'll be able to add your own class, and that's going to be attached to whatever is the top element of the form. That then individual controls, including containers, will also accept a class but not styling. Styling is kind of encouraging the bad habit of doing it right at the control level versus using CSS as it was intended. So our plan is not styling. And also, if you think about it, there's four things. There's styling for the label, styling for the control, class for the label, class for the control. The plan is to go down from those four to one, adding a class that will be at the root level of the whatever the control is, so that anything that is related to it can be styled from there.
That makes sense. Yeah, you can touch everything from there. Which is better than the current action form, because sometimes the parent is untouchable. It's not accepting a class, and you have to work harder to get it. Yeah.
Right. And there are some controls that have multiple. It's not just a label and a control. It's a label and so for example, maybe the phone has the drop or the date has a the date might have pop down a calendar. The phone might have a area code, excuse me, the number versus the flag, and so styling at the root level, whatever's inside of it, you should be able to find it. So that's the plan.
Solid.
One of the things on my plate is to try to make sure that we kind of define that well and think about all the things that we could do. And so one of them is there's some other display elements like, for example, show values pops up this, in this case, I'm using display error message. Display error message, you can see how it's rendering here. But there are other things like toasts and display message and some other things. There might be other things that impact UI that aren't specifically part of the form. So I'm wondering if we should allow a class on actions that impact the UI.
Could you explain that? Actions that impact the UI?
Well, so this is an example of what I'm talking about. I'm not saying this is the right answer. I'm really looking for some reaction from you. So here we are. We've got this show values button. It has two actions. Just context to JSON array, which gets the tokens and, gets the context, put it into a token called tokens. So I'm using display error message to display tokens. If I wanted to style that pop-up, I'm wondering if we added a class here so that you could throw a class on your pop-up, or if we another one would.
I think that's a really good idea.
Display toast. Oh, by the way, I was part of a discussion yesterday. Here we're doing display toast and stop versus display toast and continue. The current plan is that all these things that have and stop and continue would instead just be one action with an indicator as to whether it should stop or continue. So,
Yay.
Yay.
I didn't think I'd see. Now I can get a reaction from you.
I think we've all at some point suggested that. That's very good.
So anyway, display toast and stop would pop up if it worked, and I don't think it works in this version yet. Would pop up a a window over wherever you are. And so I'm wondering if we should have somewhere in here a property that's class that would be automatically attached to the root of whatever pop-up or form element gets created. So it's a little bit different thing to put it on an action instead of a field element or a form element, but I don't know where you would put it to impact something that gets added to the screen after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't put it on the action. I'm just playing with that idea.
I like that idea. So I'm a +1 on that.
Yeah, I think I mean it because I like the idea of the error message popping up, but I don't know. Sometimes I like the inline error message as well. So, and that's forms right now when you do a display error message, the error message is inline at the bottom of the form, and sometimes that can be frustrating because somebody might not even see the error message.
Agree.
But it's also nice in some ways too. So I don't know, because it's more I don't know. Yeah.
I'd like to see
this is a different behavior, and I do from display error message. I do like that. That it, I mean, becomes very evident and unmissable versus.
I would like to say I'd like to see a toast window that stays up indefinitely until closed.
For an error message, you mean?
In any situation, I mean, there are times where I've displayed a toast window, even just to say like something was submitted successfully or not, but because all the toast windows have a auto hide in X number of seconds or milliseconds, let's just say for argument's sake, one of my coworkers, my employees, they'll click something, a toast message will pop up, and then they get a phone call. They're on the phone for, the next minute or two. They come back and they're like, oh, did it save or did I get an error message because the toast auto closed? They don't know. I would like an option where it doesn't auto hide, where it just stays up until a person clicks the little X in the corner of it or something to close it.
Have you happened to try a 0 value? Do you know? Anybody tried that?
Where would you put it?
I haven't.
Here?
I haven't either, honestly.
Yeah.
Didn't occur to me to try.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I mean, I have done this, I know, with a very long value. So
that's what I do, is I usually set something for like 30 seconds or something like that. So it's like really long.
I've done it in, I mean, what you said indefinitely, I've done it for, say an hour. I don't know what the right, I don't remember exactly what I did, but something like that, so that you don't miss it and they have to close it. But a parameter that, I mean, I think it would be a normal use case. We've seen this, a 0 means don't do it at all. So anyway, we should test that in action form. But I think that's a good idea.
I'd like to see the option of a side panel message similar to what the listing or action grid does. I'd like to see the ability to create one of those or cause one of those to come up when using a form. I think that side panel is useful.
So a side panel toast.
Yeah, or I think I would prefer that it stayed on until the user closed it sometimes. The option of doing it that way or not. Similar to what Ben's saying, but I think the side panel is useful for a number of things. In the past, I've made a side panel. It took some effort to do that. If it were built in on a form like it's built in on a listing, I think that would be very helpful.
So good.
Oh, yeah, it's been said. So another thing, since, I'm never short on feature requests, there was another feature request, that was that an easy checkbox could be created in the settings panel that could disable or enable a field. Currently, if I want to get rid of a field, you can change the binding, or you can do a condition. And that doesn't delete the control, it just makes it not show. I would like a simple checkbox. There are so many times when I need to get that off the screen for this purpose or that purpose or this duration, or while I'm working on it, or while this customer is looking at it, or whatever. Copying a form from one application to another, it has different situations, so that needs to be visible, it doesn't need to be visible. So it would just be great.
Much like this icon on an action.
Yes.
So disable field.
Just disable the field. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So currently I pop a 0 into the condition.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think we all
that does
do.
the job.
Mm.
But but then sometimes there's a long list of conditions in there. And then I
Right.
have to look at the logic and figure out where that 0 goes in order to make it work.
Yeah, I've been there too.
I would just prefer, I want the easy way out. I want you to do it for me. Give me a checkbox.
Well, at least
You're talking about for testing purposes, for us to just temporarily control it.
I wouldn't limit myself to that situation. However, it is especially valuable then.
And the only reason I ask is because if it's a situation of depending on certain things that happen on the form, then I would have to disagree. I don't want it as a checkbox. I want it as something that we could fill in, especially with a token value, because that will give more flexibility for us to be able to programmatically enable, disable the control, as opposed to have to forcibly go in there into the edit and hit the button.
But don't you already have that with binding?
Yeah.
Well,
you've already
we
got
don't.
what you want.
Not necessarily. We don't have enable disable. We have hide show.
In the current forms, there's an enable disable, but not the field. No, buttons, not on.
Right.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A field
Yeah,
doesn't
the
have an
fields do
enable
too.
disable.
They do too,
they?
don't they?
Show
think so.
conditions at the top is, you can program that, and that's going to determine whether it appears, whether it exists or not on the form.
And that's
Right, but
and
you're saying enabled, so that's a different terminology, because
That's
that
not what he
grays it out if it's disabled and shows it if it's enabled. If you're talking about hide show, that's different.
Well, to be clear, I'm saying hide show is going to control whether it exists or does not exist. And what I'm asking for on a different thread is, I would like exist or not exist to be a checkbox also. I'm not talking about enabled.
Okay,
I want it to either be there or not be
you're
there.
basically, okay, so what I mean, from my understanding, just to clarify and reframe, you're asking for us as the developers to have a way to do the show or not show without having to fill that in and just click a button.
Yeah.
So it's a development thing. It has nothing to do with the interaction of the form and functioning of the form. It's for us as developers to quickly hide things or show things.
Yes.
Got it.
I don't know about you guys, but I do that a lot.
If Mark was talking about just enabled, there it is right there. It's already there. Not the show condition, but down lower there's the other options, enabled or disabled.
Yeah, what's there is fine.
Oh yeah,
for me.
Okay.
Yeah, programmatically.
And then that's on form initialization, but then also under bindings we have a show and enable as well. So I mean all that is there for doing powerful,
Programmatically.
programmatically stuff. But I do get what Mark's saying is that we often just need to get rid of a field for a
Yeah.
while, and the same with but I mean you're already answering it with actions, but in the current action form, the same thing with actions. Sometimes I just need to remove an action for a while, and if it already has a long condition string,
Mm-hmm.
then you're right, exactly right, Mark. Then you got to figure out, okay, where do I put that false? so
Mm-hmm.
so that I can and I've even on
Yeah.
on
On
some
habit.
occasions
Sorry, go ahead.
on some occasions I've actually just cut the condition out of the condition field and pasted it into the description and then put the 0 into the condition, so I just know
Yeah.
when I go back, my condition string that I had is up here in the description area. I've done that before.
Right.
For me,
I've done
usually
that too.
exactly what you're saying to temporarily disable is I put false in the beginning, space, create a parenthesis, hop to the end of the line, create a parenthesis. Sorry, false, space, and space, paren, jump to the end, paren. So regardless of what your original condition is, the false is always going to outweigh it. So you've just disabled it. And then in the description, first word, I put in capital letters deprecated, just so that it's a visual. So if I see big capital letters deprecated, I know that that's like a temporary thing for me, that I've just kind of turned that off. And if I see that, then it means I have to come back and review it. Like, am I turning it back on? Am I deleting it later? Whatever it is. But that's just so that I can give myself a visual on the description.
Right. So that brings up a really good thing. Dale, if you're writing that down, that feature request of an easy way to disable something, it should include an indicator that shows that it's been disabled. Even, if the checkbox is visible all the time, that might take care of it. But I pop a 0 in my description because I put a 0 in the condition. I put a 0 in the description. I can tell at a glance it's disabled.
I would just think the same thing that actions has that Dale showed us would be perfect. A little like a power button, and you click that, and if it just does a strikeout and grays it out, that it's disabled.
Yeah, that's nice. That's great.
Yeah, and just reacting, I think we've all arrived at the same spot. Reacting to what you're doing here, Ben. This feels like you found a great pattern for adapting to what action form does. Right? The false and yet I mean it's just dealing with the reality. We as low-code developers have to be able to turn things on and off, and yet since it doesn't, here's a pattern that works, or the one that Patrick described, and it's just reacting to a kind of a design that maybe wasn't ever intended for that.
Yeah,
so
just so you know, that deprecated though, that I put in the description, not in the actual
okay.
Condition.
Good pattern. So we have on our button with actions are handled here with this nice on off, and you get automatically disabled and strike through, and so it's nicely visual, and so actions are now going to be handled much better, and improves the wherever condition exists. Is there no? Am I missing it? Execute actions doesn't have a condition, so that's something. We're missing condition altogether. So there's some things here that are missing anyway.
Remember, it's the new interface. You have to click the button right to the that one there.
Yes. Correct.
And then once you put the condition in, the field shows up, right? That's the way it works in workflows and everything right now, I think.
Right there it is.
Yeah.
That makes it pop up. So it saves a little space.
Truth be told, that I find irritating. I've seen that happen, and I always thought that was a bug, because I'm like, if the condition is in that little fork area, keep it in that fork area. To have it show after the fact that you put it in, then it's like confusing to me. It's like, well, it's in the fork, but if you put it in, then it's in the box and you could do it directly. But then if you delete it, then you have to go back to the fork button.
It's conditional.
The condition is conditional.
It's the way it was originally when this interface was first made, but I think people complained about it, so.
Correct. So
I liked it there all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it as a preference. I like it there all the time too. But this was kind of a compromise to if there isn't one, it's out of the way. If there is one, it's in your face. So we have this disable action and the feature, and which I think solves the need here and solves all the things we were talking about in an action form. And then if we on a field had that same functionality, the ability to turn on and off. And I think we're going to, thinking about this, we haven't gotten there yet, but fields are going to need like cloning and exporting and some functionality up here that isn't here yet. And so when we do that, being able to add in and on off.
I'm also noticing that the enable condition isn't there. Yeah.
Correct. And there's yeah, so this is kind of here minimally. I agree in my last mile thing. I've identified that, and it's part of a bigger topic that we haven't landed yet, which is this show and enable happens in action form, happens in all these different places, right? So we identified that it's happening here, and it's happening in the bind expressions, and it might be somewhere else as well. So trying to come up with one unified right answer rather than
three different ones.
Three different ones, and making sure we just don't replicate the same mistakes into, I'm sorry, not even mistakes, complexities into Forms 2.0, doing it right and handling 99% of the use cases. All right.
I have often thought that was a little bit uncomfortable to make something visible in three different places. And one of them required a click to expand. So two of them require a click to expand. You can get to where you need to be. Yeah, so bind expressions and the UI is another place where you could get down there and hide something with CSS. And so it's weird. My goal was to hide it, but there's three different ways and three different places to get it done.
And yeah, that is another thing that when go ahead.
I was gonna say it's important though to keep in mind that doing the CSS or the bind is a really, really different thing than doing the top level show condition.
Agree.
Because because I mean I have situations where the show condition, it's not in the DOM. That gets rid of the field, and that's really important sometimes for that field just to not be there completely. So
definitely is. And it's very important for us to understand the difference too.
Yeah.
And people like us.
I was gonna say, and that's I think one of the things too that might be a little lacking in the descriptions of that form area, because I've heard people ask that question often, and I know I myself have explained it like that, show, like you said, removes it from the DOM entirely. So there isn't even a placeholder for it. It just doesn't appear at all. But then you've got the bind, and the bind is different. That is literally a visibility show hide that will also be affected by whatever changes you make to the form programmatically. So it's something that you can interact with. Whereas the first one is not interacting. It runs the first time and that's it. It won't redo it unless you refresh the page.
Agreed.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun discussions over these, I mean, especially once we get the preview version out. And glad that you're engaged with the topic. We do want to get this right. I brought up privately to a couple of you that I got distracted at the end of the Low-Code Cafe because for some reason the girl here has no shoes. And it's been 5 years and I just now noticed that she has no shoes. So I'm very confused by that. But this is the way it is when you're a low coder. Maybe you're in pajamas and shoes. With that, then, thanks for spending your hour. We're going to go to the Afterglow segment as soon as I can find the button. But glad that you spend the time with us and your expertise, and hang around for a few more minutes and we will talk some more.